True awakening isn't physical. It's the moment you remember why you're rising at all. Tony Robbins. What if I told you that you don't need 8 or 10 hours of sleep to feel clear, alive, and full of energy? What if I told you that 2, 3, or even just 1 hour could be enough? Not as survival, not as torture, but as a new kind of awakening, without suffering. It sounds impossible because we've been trained to believe a lie, that sleep equals recovery, and more sleep means better life. But here's the truth. People don't wake up tired because they didn't sleep enough. They wake up tired because they don't want to return to the life they're living. You're not broken, you're not lazy, you're not weak. You're exhausted from pretending, from dragging yourself into a day that feels like a copy of a copy. And the worst part, you blame yourself for not having the energy to do it again. It's not about sleep, it's about disconnection. When you open your eyes in the morning and feel that wave of weight on your chest, that ache behind your eyes, that sinking in your gut, that's not fatigue, that's grief, that's resistance, that's a body screaming, please don't make me go back there. You can sleep 10 hours and wake up shattered. You can sleep 1 hour and feel light. Because energy isn't measured in time, it's measured in meaning, in alignment, in whether the person who's waking up is allowed to be fully alive or just a function. You've tried fixing your sleep, the supplements, the schedules, the affirmations, the morning routines, but nothing works when the core is rotten. You don't need more tips, you need truth. And the truth is, you don't hate mornings. You hate who you've had to become to survive them. You don't need to sleep more. You need to stop waking up into a life where your soul is still asleep. So if something in these words feels like it's speaking directly to you, subscribe to the channel. Let more people who are waking up in pain hear the truth they've never been told. And don't forget to check out the Telegram too. Some things are too real for algorithms to show. The idea that you need 8 hours of sleep is not a biological truth. It's a cultural myth, a standard created to serve systems, not human beings. The industrial world needed obedient bodies, not awakened souls. So the 8-hour workday came, and with it, the 8-hour sleep. Uniform, predictable, efficient, but not necessarily human. You've been told that less sleep will destroy your health, ruin your mind, shorten your life. But no one told you that more sleep in a dead life will destroy you faster. No one told you that chronic exhaustion is often not physical, but existential. That when you don't want to wake up, it's not your body rejecting life, it's your soul. There are people who sleep 2 hours and create masterpieces. People who barely sleep and move nations. It's not because they're superhuman. It's because they're aligned. They're not drained by pretending. They're not split between who they are and who they're supposed to be. Their nervous system isn't choking on suppressed truth. They've made peace with themselves. And from that peace comes power. The way we talk about sleep is broken, as if the only way to rest is unconsciousness. But what if you could rest without escaping? What if you could stay awake and still feel whole? That's not just philosophy, it's a shift in nervous system regulation, a shift from fear to presence, from running to being. The reason you collapse at night isn't because your body is tired, it's because your mask is, your performance is. And no amount of deep sleep can restore a person who is faking life. So the problem isn't sleep, it's the life you keep falling asleep from. We've made sleep a god, but real rest comes from inner congruence, from alignment, from not having to betray yourself every time you open your eyes. That's why some people can sleep 4 hours and feel alive, and others can sleep 10 and still want to disappear. You've been doing everything right. The routines, the water, the magnesium, the sleep hygiene. And yet, still tired, still numb, still dreading the morning. That's because this isn't about optimization. This is about liberation. From the story that you're not enough unless you function like a robot. From the idea that you're only worthy if you obey a rhythm that was never yours. Leonardo da Vinci didn't follow the sleep rules. He practiced polyphasic sleep, 20 minutes every 4 hours. That's it. And in that state, he painted, invented, studied anatomy, sketched machines centuries ahead of their time. Not because he was a freak of nature, but because he listened to the rhythm of his own being, not society's expectations. Nikola Tesla reportedly slept no more than 2 hours a night, and yet his mind operated on a frequency most people couldn't comprehend. He didn't just sleep less, he burned with purpose. When there's inner clarity, the body doesn't need escape, it needs expression. Margaret Thatcher functioned on 4 hours. Salvador Dali napped in surreal patterns. Napoleon reportedly slept just a few hours during campaigns. These aren't outliers, they're proof, not of superiority, but of what happens when the inner world is congruent, when you're not leaking energy in self-denial, masks, compromises, when your soul isn't bleeding from 1,000 small betrayals. Sleep becomes a tool, not a crutch. It's not about copying their sleep schedules. That's not the point. It's about understanding what made that possible. They weren't fighting their rhythms. They were in conversation with their nervous system. They knew what they needed and what they didn't. And most importantly, they weren't dragging themselves through a life that made them sick. Most people need 8 hours, not because the body demands it, but because the soul is starving. Because the life they live by day is so disconnected from who they are, it takes the night to recover from pretending. Sleep is not rest when your subconscious is a battlefield. You can close your eyes, but you can't shut off inner war. That's why some people wake up tired no matter how long they sleep, because their dreams are just extensions of daily suppression. Sleep becomes survival, and waking up feels like re-entering the war zone. The people who sleep the least and still thrive are not better, but they've found something deeper than sleep. They've found coherence. They don't abandon themselves at night and try to perform during the day. Their wakefulness isn't fueled by pressure. It's rooted in alignment. When that's in place, sleep becomes a choice, not an addiction. Waking up easily isn't about the number of hours you sleep. It's about the state you wake up into. Most people open their eyes and instantly feel crushed, not by fatigue, but by the weight of returning to something that feels lifeless. That moment, when your alarm goes off and your chest tightens, has nothing to do with biology. It's your nervous system reacting to the lie you have to step back into. That's why no amount of sleep fixes it. Because it was never a sleep problem. It was a truth problem. When your day is built on roles you never chose, conversations that drain you, expectations you didn't agree to, of course you wake up heavy. Your body is intelligent. It resists what hurts. And when the only way to function is to numb out, to fake motivation, to silence discomfort, to wear a mask, the body will eventually say no. Not through illness, through exhaustion, through that quiet, inner refusal to keep pretending. Real rest begins the moment you no longer have to abandon yourself to survive. That's when the nervous system exhales. That's when waking up doesn't feel like punishment. You could sleep 3 hours and still feel present, because presence isn't about rest, it's about inner congruence. The more aligned you are with your truth, the less your body needs to recover. Not because you're pushing, but because you're no longer bleeding energy through inner conflict. This is why some people can leap out of bed before sunrise, while others can't move after 10 hours. The difference isn't discipline, it's despair. One person wakes up into a life that feeds their soul. The other wakes up into a loop that drains it. You don't need better sleep. You need a life that doesn't feel like a betrayal, that doesn't require you to shrink, to lie, to put your needs on hold just to be accepted. Easy waking is a byproduct of inner honesty. When you no longer dread who you have to be each day, your body will stop resisting the morning. It's not about having a perfect routine. It's about ending the war inside. The most powerful alarm clock is not on your phone. It's meaning. And when that meaning is real, even an hour of sleep becomes enough. Not because the body doesn't need rest, but because the soul finally has a reason to wake up. There are real, practical ways to sleep less and still feel whole, but it starts with one shift. Stop treating sleep like a drug and start treating it like a dialogue. Your body isn't a machine you have to fix. It's a living intelligence you have to listen to. The most efficient sleep happens not when you try to force your body into rest, but when you create the inner safety for it to let go. That's why quality always outweighs quantity, and quality starts before your head hits the pillow. Polyphasic sleep, short cycles spread across the day, has worked for many. 20-minute naps every 4 hours. A longer sleep at night with one nap midday. It's not about copying someone else's rhythm. It's about testing what your body responds to. Some thrive with one core sleep and one nap. Others feel better on 2 short sessions. The key is flexibility, not dogma. The body knows, but it only speaks when you stop overriding it. Before sleep, clear emotional residue. Journal what you suppressed. Move your body gently. Stretch. Breathe in a 4-4-4-4 rhythm. Exhale longer than you inhale. These aren't spiritual tricks, they're nervous system tools. When the system feels safe, you fall asleep faster and drop deeper. Use darkness, silence, weighted blankets, cold air. Ritual matters more than routine. It tells your body you're allowed to let go now. But here's the deeper work. What are you still carrying into sleep? What thoughts, fears, masks are you refusing to release? The more you hold on, the more fragmented your rest becomes. Sleep becomes a battlefield when your inner world is at war. You can't outsmart that with supplements. You meet it with honesty. If you wake up in the middle of the night, don't panic. Breathe. Feel your body. Let your awareness settle into the places that feel tight or numb. Often, it's not insomnia. It's unresolved grief trying to move through. Lay a hand on your chest. Whisper, "It's okay to rest. I'm not in danger anymore." That's not softness. That's reprogramming. And for those who truly want to explore more with less sleep, start by reclaiming ownership of your rhythm. Don't ask what's normal. Ask what's true for you. The world won't give you permission. You have to give it to yourself. And when you do, you'll realize it was never about sleep. It was about the relationship you have with rest and whether your body believes it's finally allowed to feel safe. Some people aren't just tired, they're depleted in a way no amount of sleep can fix. You lie down, hoping for rest, and wake up feeling like you never closed your eyes. That's not about sleep cycles, that's about the weight you carry into the night. For many, the bed is the only place where the mask comes off. And yet even there, the nervous system doesn't trust. It stays alert, scanning, bracing, as if danger is always near. So even in stillness, there's no recovery, only tension. If you can't sleep, Stop fighting. The more you try to force rest, the more your system tightens. Instead, shift your relationship with the night. You're not broken. You're overstimulated, overloaded, overwhelmed by a life that never lets you soften. Begin with the smallest act, permission. Tell your body, you don't have to fix anything right now. This single sentence can calm a system that's been in survival for years. Touch helps. Warmth helps. Weighted blankets, pressure on the chest, heat on the abdomen. These are cues of safety. Light stretching, slow movement, music that feels like exhale. These aren't luxuries. They're signals to the primal part of you that it's finally safe to release. And release isn't just physical, it's emotional. Sometimes the reason you can't sleep is because you haven't cried in months, or screamed, or said the thing that's been rotting inside. Screens before bed don't just mess with melatonin. They keep you running. They simulate connection, but give none. Replace them with breath, with journaling, with presence. Even 5 minutes of eye-closed awareness can help. Not because it optimizes you, but because it reminds your body what stillness feels like. If sleep won't come, try stillness instead. Stillness is not the absence of movement, it's the absence of resistance. Lay down without needing to sleep. Just breathe. Scan your body. Where is the tension? Where is the numbness? Don't fix, just witness. Many people finally fall asleep, not because they tried harder, but because they stopped trying at all. And if the night stays long and rest never lands, don't shame yourself. Don't panic. Meet the moment with grace. Tell yourself, even if I don't sleep, I can still rest. I can still heal. That shift alone can change your entire night. Because your body isn't asking for perfection, it's asking for presence. You've been told your body needs exactly 7, maybe 8, maybe 9 hours of sleep, as if every person on the planet was printed from the same template, as if biology works like software, with fixed rules and one correct setup. But here's the truth no one taught you. There is no such thing as the right amount of sleep. There is only what's right for you. And that can change, not just from person to person, but from season to season, even from one phase of your life to another. Your nervous system is not a machine. It's a living, adapting ecosystem. It listens, reacts, adjusts. It doesn't obey numbers. It responds to truth. If you treat your body like a problem to fix, it will resist you. But if you treat it like a partner to understand, it will show you things you've never learned from any book or doctor. Because your biology is not fragile. It's powerful. It's adaptable. And the most radical truth? Your body can adjust to almost anything if you give it time, presence, and consistency. The 8-hour sleep standard is not sacred. It's not even ancient. It's a cultural agreement, one born from industrial needs, not human ones. Factories needed rested workers, schools needed early starts, systems needed compliant citizens, so they built schedules, they invented averages, and we accepted them without ever asking, what if this isn't true for me? You've likely never been taught to test your own rhythm, to experiment, to play with your cycles. But you should, because your ideal sleep might not be a straight block at night. It might be segmented, polyphasic, or shorter, more efficient bursts. Some people feel best with 6 hours and a nap. Others wake naturally after 4. And still others do just fine sleeping twice a day in smaller doses. What matters is not how long you sleep, but how awake you feel when you're conscious. There are cultures throughout history where sleeping in 2 phases, night and early morning, was completely normal. There are tribes today that have no concept of a bedtime. Their bodies follow the fire, the stars, the silence, and they don't struggle with the chronic fatigue that haunts modern life. Why? Because they're not fighting themselves. They haven't internalized the lie that rest must look a certain way. If your alarm feels like an attack every morning, it's not because you're undisciplined. It's because your system is out of sync with your truth. And when you live out of sync, you don't just lose energy, you lose trust in yourself. That's the real damage. You start to believe you're lazy, weak, broken, when all along, your body was just begging for something real. Not a schedule, not a routine, but alignment. Test yourself, not to prove anything, not to become hyper-productive, but to finally understand how you work. Try different rhythms. Document how you feel. Track mental clarity, emotional tone, physical energy. But don't obsess, just observe. Sleep 5 hours for a week, then 6. Try a polyphasic model for 3 days. See what shifts. Let your body speak, not your fear, not your conditioning, not your guilt. And if you find a rhythm that others don't understand, keep it anyway, it's yours. It doesn't have to make sense to them. You don't need external permission to follow your inner clock. The body is not stupid. It knows when it's rested. You don't have to question that knowing just because it doesn't fit a chart. You are not average. You are not a study. You are not a case number. You are a conscious being, capable of feeling your way into balance. And when you trust that, really trust it, everything changes. You stop chasing rest and start living from it. You stop fearing fatigue and start listening to what it's asking for. You stop waking up in resistance and start waking up in choice. And if these words find you where you are, if something inside you feels finally understood, then subscribe to this channel. Because the world needs more people who are ready to live on their own terms, not the systems. And join the Telegram too. It's where we go deeper, outside the noise, into truth. And if you saw yourself in this video, write in the comments, "I no longer run from pain," or "My darkness is my strength," or "I take off the mask," or "I accept my shadow." Let's build something real here, a space where we stop apologizing for who we are, where we stop performing, where we start reclaiming. This isn't the end. This is where it begins. When you wake up, not because the clock says so, but because your soul is ready.